What if the thing keeping you trapped isn't the world outside you, not your boss, not your past, not your bank account, but something deep inside you? What if the greatest chains holding you back are invisible, built from beliefs, fears, and wounds you don't even know you have? Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of all time, believed every person carries a truth inside them, a truth so powerful it can completely change their life if they're brave enough to face it. But here's the problem: most people never do. Why? Because the truth Jung is talking about isn't polite, it isn't comfortable, and it isn't what you want to hear. It's the kind of truth that shakes everything you thought you knew about yourself. The kind of truth that doesn't just ask you to change your habits, it asks you to change you. Jung once said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. Think about that for a second. People will work themselves to exhaustion, distract themselves with endless scrolling, drink, shop, binge watch, anything to avoid looking inward. Because looking inward means risk. It means uncovering parts of yourself you've buried for years, your pain, your fear, your shame, and also your power. Have you felt it? Be honest. Have you ever felt like something in your life is off, even when everything looks fine on paper? Maybe it's the anxiety you can't explain, the anger you keep bottled up because you shouldn't feel that way, the dreams you put on hold because they seem unrealistic. Jung would say all of these are signals, whispers from the unconscious, the part of your mind where you've hidden not only pain, but pieces of your true self. This is where most people stop. They sense something's wrong, but instead of exploring it, they bury it deeper. They tell themselves, it's fine, I'm fine, this is just life. But Jung believed ignoring the unconscious is like ignoring a leaking roof. It doesn't go away, it just gets worse. The truth that frees you. In this video, we're going to explore the truth Jung believed could set you free. But be warned, it's not a feel-good truth. It's not a quick tip, a motivational quote, or a productivity hack. It's a confrontation with yourself. Because according to Jung, real freedom doesn't come from escaping your problems or pretending you're okay. Real freedom comes from facing yourself, from daring to see the parts you've rejected, denied, and feared. Because those parts, they hold your energy, your creativity, and your authenticity. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Jung believed that facing your own truth, even the parts that scare you, is the key to a life that is not just good enough, but deeply alive. Because the truth will set you free if you dare to see it. Carl Jung believed that every person carries what he called the shadow, the hidden side of your personality that contains everything you reject or deny about yourself. Your anger, your jealousy, your selfishness, even your secret ambitions and desires. The shadow is the version of you that you don't show to the world. Sometimes you don't even show it to yourself. But here's the paradox. Ignoring your shadow doesn't make it go away. It makes it stronger. How the shadow controls. You think about how often people say things like, I don't know why I keep doing this. I can't believe I reacted that way. That's not like me. These moments are often your shadow breaking through the surface, because the parts of yourself you try to hide don't disappear. They simply find other ways to express themselves, often in destructive or confusing patterns. Jung warned that when you suppress anger, it might come out later as passive aggression. When you deny your ambition, it might show up as resentment toward people who chase theirs. When you bury your pain, it can transform into anxiety or depression. In other words, if you don't own your shadow owns you. Why people fear facing it. Why don't we face our shadow? because it's terrifying to admit we're not always who we pretend to be. Society rewards politeness, productivity, and positivity. We're taught from childhood, be a good boy, be a good girl, don't make mistakes, don't make people uncomfortable. So we hide anything messy, ugly, or complicated. But Jung argued that true growth comes only when we stop running from these parts of ourselves. The shadow isn't bad, it's human. It's raw energy, anger that can become courage, selfishness that can become ambition, pain that can become empathy if we integrate it. Integration, the hard but liberating path. Integration doesn't mean acting on every dark impulse. It means acknowledging those impulses and choosing consciously how to deal with them. For example, instead of denying you feel envy, admit it, then use it as motivation to improve your own life. Instead of pretending you're never angry, admit it, then learn to set boundaries with clarity instead of exploding later. Jung believed ignoring your shadow keeps you fragmented, half alive, but facing it, owning it, makes you whole. The cost of denial. People who never face their shadow often feel stuck, repeating unhealthy relationship patterns, sabotaging their own success, or living with a constant sense that something is missing. That something missing is often themselves, the parts they've buried. Jung's truth is simple but difficult. You cannot be free while you're running from yourself. Carl Jung believed that facing your shadow, the parts of yourself you deny, hide, or fear, is one of the bravest acts a person can take. But he also understood something profound. When you finally look at what you've been avoiding, you don't just see pain, you discover power. The fear of looking within. Why do most people avoid self-reflection? Because looking at yourself without filters is terrifying. It means admitting you're not always the hero of your own story. It means acknowledging the lies you've told yourself, the excuses you've made, the dreams you've abandoned. It means facing the uncomfortable truth that maybe, just maybe, some of your suffering is self-inflicted. Jung didn't see this as a reason for shame. He saw it as an opportunity. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. In other words, the fears you refuse to face don't disappear. They control you, silently, shaping your choices, your relationships, and even your sense of identity. The turning point, fear as a map. Here's the paradox Jung discovered. The places you fear to look are often the exact places that hold your strength. Afraid of conflict? That's where your voice is hiding. Afraid of failure? That's where your creativity lives. Afraid of rejection? That's where your authenticity waits. Your fear is not a stop sign. It's a map. It's pointing to the exact areas of life where growth is possible. The process of integration. Facing your shadow is not about eliminating fear, it's about integrating it. When you confront a fear and take even one step forward, something powerful happens. Your relationship to that fear changes. You begin to see fear not as a monster, but as raw energy you can harness. For example, the fear of speaking your mind can be transformed into confidence and leadership. The fear of failure can become experimentation and innovation. The fear of being alone can become independence and self-respect. Jung believed this transformation is how people unlock what he called individuation, the process of becoming your full, authentic self. Freedom on the other side. Most people think freedom means avoiding pain or discomfort. But Jung argued the opposite. Freedom comes from moving through discomfort. When you stop running from what scares you, it stops chasing you, and what's left is clarity, energy, and a sense of control you may have never felt before. Facing the shadow isn't easy. You will feel resistance. You might even feel fear grow louder at first. But if you push through, something amazing happens. You stop being at war with yourself. You stop wasting energy pretending, hiding, or performing for others. And when that happens, the energy you once used to suppress yourself becomes fuel for creating yourself. The truth. Jung wanted you to see. Jung's truth is simple but life-changing. What you avoid controls you, and what you face sets you free. Every avoided conversation, every buried dream, every denied emotion is a chain. Facing them, one by one, is how you break free. Most people think freedom is about escaping problems, quitting a job, ending a relationship, moving to a new city. But Carl Jung believed true freedom has nothing to do with running away. It's about turning around and facing what you've been running from. The illusion of escape. We think, if I just change my environment, everything will be fine. But have you noticed how often people repeat the same patterns, even in new situations? The person who leaves one toxic relationship often ends up in another. The employee who quits a draining job finds the same stress in a new company. The person who travels the world to find themselves sometimes returns just as lost as before. Jung believed this happens because you take yourself with you wherever you go. The unresolved parts of you, your shadow, your fears, your wounds, don't vanish when your surroundings change. They follow you like luggage you didn't know you were carrying. Why the truth hurts before it heals. Facing yourself is painful because it breaks illusions you've depended on. Maybe you've told yourself you're easygoing when really you avoid conflict because you fear rejection. Maybe you've told yourself you're just unlucky when really you self-sabotage because failure feels safer than success. The moment you see this truth, it stings. Jung knew it would, but he also knew something powerful. Pain is a sign of life. If it hurts, it means you're touching something real, something alive, something that matters. Freedom on the other side of pain. Here's the part most people don't realize. After the pain comes relief. When you face your shadow and your truth, you stop wasting energy pretending. You stop hiding. You stop carrying the weight of denial. Think about it. How much energy does it take to fake a smile when you're miserable? How much effort does it take to constantly hide anger, sadness, or dreams? Facing the truth releases that energy. Suddenly, you have strength to create, to love, to live, because you're no longer splitting yourself in two. The kind of freedom. Jung talked about freedom isn't about doing whatever you want whenever you want. That's just impulse. The freedom Jung meant is wholeness, the feeling of living as one integrated person instead of fragments, the good you people see and the hidden you you're ashamed of. When you integrate those parts, you stop being afraid of your own mind. And when you're no longer afraid of yourself, what in the outside world can truly control you? The moment of courage. There's always a moment, maybe it's right now, where you realize, if I keep avoiding, nothing changes. That's the crossroads Jung wanted people to face. One road is safety and familiarity, but it's also the road of quiet frustration. The other road is scary, but it leads to a life that's actually yours. Carl Jung's ideas are powerful, but power without action is just theory. The question is, how do you actually use these truths to break free in real life? How do you stop running from yourself and start building a life rooted in authenticity and strength? Step 1. Dare to see yourself honestly. Most people think self-awareness is automatic. I know who I am. But knowing yourself isn't about listing your favorite movies or personality type. It's about asking questions most people avoid. What am I pretending not to feel? Where am I lying to myself just to stay comfortable? What patterns keep repeating in my life, and what's my role in them? This is uncomfortable, even painful, but Jung believed it's the starting point for real freedom. If you don't face yourself, you end up repeating the same story again and again, just with different people and places. Step 2. Meet your shadow. The shadow holds everything you reject or hide: anger, jealousy, ambition, fear, pain. Instead of suppressing it, start observing it. Notice when you feel irrational anger or envy. Pay attention to when you overreact or shut down emotionally. Ask yourself, what part of me am I afraid to admit right now? Jung believed journaling, therapy, or even honest conversations with trusted people can help you see your shadow clearly. And once you see it, you can work with it instead of letting it control you. Step 3. Take one honest action. Insight without action changes nothing. Pick one area of your life where you've been avoiding conflict or truth. A boundary you need to set. A dream you've been postponing. A feeling you've been hiding from someone you care about. Then take one small, honest step. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Even saying, "I need to talk about something uncomfortable," is progress. Jung taught that transformation doesn't happen in one heroic leap. It happens in small, repeated acts of courage. Step 4. Expect resistance. When you start facing yourself, two things push back: your mind and your environment. Your mind will try to keep you safe by telling you to stop, and people around you might resist the new you because they're used to the old one. That's normal. Jung would tell you, keep going. Growth feels like chaos before it feels like clarity. Step 5. Keep integrating. Freedom isn't a one-time event. It's a practice. You keep meeting new layers of your shadow, keep facing new truths, keep choosing honesty over comfort. But each time you do, you gain more energy, clarity, and confidence. Over time, this becomes your new normal, a life where you're not running, hiding, or pretending, a life where you're whole. Imagine looking in the mirror and finally seeing all of you, not just the parts you've chosen to show, but the whole picture, your strengths, your flaws, your dreams, your fears. No masks, no hiding, no running. That's what Carl Jung meant when he said, "I'd rather be whole than good," because being good often means pleasing everyone else, fitting into their expectations, keeping the peace even when it kills your soul. Being whole means owning your shadow, your truth, and your life, even when it's messy, even when it's uncomfortable. Freedom isn't given, it's claimed. We live in a world obsessed with external freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of choice. But Jung's work reveals an inner dimension of freedom, the freedom to be yourself without fear of rejection or shame. You don't get that kind of freedom from governments, jobs, or even relationships. You claim it by facing yourself, by confronting the lies you tell yourself to stay safe, by breaking the patterns that keep you small, by integrating the parts of you you've been taught to hide. The pain before the peace. Facing yourself isn't easy. It's like opening a locked basement door and shining a light on everything you've been avoiding for years. At first, it feels chaotic, maybe even worse than before. But as Jung taught, in all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. When you face your shadow and integrate it, the chaos settles into clarity. You stop fighting yourself. You stop wasting energy hiding. And that peace, the peace of authenticity, is far deeper than the peace of avoidance. Who do you want to be? You have two choices. 1. Keep hiding, keep pleasing, keep running from discomfort. Life will stay safe and small. 2. Or dare to see yourself fully, face the truth, and step into a life that's actually yours. One path costs you your authenticity. The other costs you your fear. Jung would ask, which price are you willing to pay? If you felt something while hearing this, that subtle pull in your chest, that whisper saying, "This is me," don't ignore it. Subscribe to this channel, hit the bell, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this truth. Then take one small step today. Write one truth you've been avoiding. Say one thing you've been holding back.